Is your mouth watering? Don't miss Coral Gables Restaurant Week. More than 30 great restaurants to choose from. June 4th through 17th.
Welcome to Chat Chow TV, an online weekly show interviewing the personalities of the food industry. On today's episode, we'll be speaking with Giorgio Rapicavoli of the pop-up restaurant The Eating House here in Coral Gables. This electric concoction we're drinking.
It's a Tang mimosa. It's
Tang. It's classy.
Tang, you know, we're kicking it old school, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Tang mimosas kind of came to us. We bought a thing of Tang. We were just shopping at Restaurant Depot. We saw a thing of Tang, bought it for family, you know, whatever, just to drink, because we used to drink it when we were kids. And someone said, let's make Tang mimosas.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we never got a chance to meet you at the Anglers, but we virtually kind of met you on Chopped. How was that experience? Are you kind of like overhearing about it?
I mean, no, not really.
Not
I guess.
really.
No, I mean, you can't really. It's pretty, yeah, and it's awesome to be, you know, to work really hard and then to finally get recognized for it. And it's, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, it was national, and you know, that was a pretty big deal. It kind of got. It's the reason I have, you know.
Exactly.
This.
You segued right into my next question.
Right.
Now we've got a pop-up restaurant.
Pop-up
The whole pop-up concept is kind of new to Miami, right?
Yeah, it's fairly new. You know, we're the second pop-up restaurant here. Anise and Caesar kind of pioneered it with Daniel back in the day at Fukia. Yeah, you know, and you know, it was they introduced it, and they introduced it well, you know, and we decided to just kind of use the momentum of the pop-up nationally to kind of spring us into what we want to do, and you know, in a sense of one day have our own restaurant and run the business we want to run. This is a good segue into it, and a good, you know, it's like crawling before you walk.
I want to talk about the food, because your food is freaking awesome. It really is awesome. How do you describe your own food?
Yeah, that's a hard one for me to do. I don't know really how to describe it, because
okay, what inspires you?
Everything. I mean, everything. You know, from like, for example, something that I used to drink when I was 4.
Right.
I'm now drinking, you know, at 26 again in a new way that we envision it, and it's a lot of memories and taste. You know, I never really went anywhere to work for anybody fancy. Never wanted to study or apprentice or take schooling. You know, the way I learned a couple techniques, you know, and nowadays with the internet you can really learn to do anything. And with the cookbooks that are out today, you can learn to do anything.
So you can be you too can be a
yeah,
cook.
for sure. I mean, not, you know, go to school obviously if you want to, but you don't really need to, I guess. One of my very, very big, I guess, mentors or role models is Jean-Michel Basquiat, and you know, he would just interpret classic paintings like the Mona Lisa and redo them in his crazy way. And when they talk to him about how he gets these ideas, he says, influence is an influence. It's simply someone else's idea running through my new mind. So that's kind of the way I like to approach my food and the way I see food. And you know, if I see a classic dish like duck à l'orange, we'll do duck à la Fanta. And you know,
what are some other dishes that you guys have on the menu?
We do we get these great, beautiful tomatoes from Tina's Pride Farm in Homestead. And then we want to steer away from the traditional like basil balsamic mozzarella, you know. So we started off with the flavor of ginger. Ginger led to fish sauce. We thought of the fish sauce kind of being funky, kind of like that same funk that tomatoes have. Led to, you know, the flavors of like Thailand, and then we thought coconut milk. How are we gonna put coconut milk? Then we thought to freeze the coconut, and then it became one of our crazy signature dishes here.
It's an awesome dish. I was so skeptical at first, but it was just like.
It reads odd, and it just makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense when you eat it. You know, you're like, oh, that's Thai. That's right.
So what are some of what's first of all the name of brunch?
Yeah.
What's the name of brunch?
Wakin' and Bacon.
Wakin' and Bacon. So we'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that, but it's you know, pork bacon.
Okay, so what are some of the...
a little double entendre, I guess you'd say. Some of the dishes?
Yeah, what's some of the dishes?
All right, we're making Captain Crunch pancakes. Oh. So we're mixing, instead of doing all flour, we got Captain Crunch cereal, processed them so they were like a crumb, like a mill, you know, like all milled out. Mix it with the flour, so you got this great flavor of Captain Crunch throughout the pancake. We're pretty popular at dinner for the carbonara. So we're doing a carbonara eggs Benedict. Instead of like the traditional hollandaise and all that.
Right.
We found these things that look like the Burger King hash browns. So we're serving BK hash browns with homemade ketchup kind of, you know, playing back to like those flavors that we like to eat when we were growing up. Yeah, torrejas, Cuban French toast. We're doing calentado, a Colombian breakfast. We're making chilaquiles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you know how like at every Mexican restaurant it's always like Armando's chilaquiles or whatever. So we named Cheech's chilaquiles after Cheech Marin. It's so funny that everybody thinks he's Mexican, but he's not. So, you know, we're not really Mexicans. We're making some Mexican food, so we thought we'd name it after him. Captain Crunch breakfast was the one that kind of launched this ridiculous dessert we make here, where we puree cereal. Cereal changes every week, and we puree the cereal, then we charge it in a cream canister, and we make a mousse out of that cereal. We put it on top of a milk panna cotta, and then we candy that cereal, put it on top, and then we make coffee salt, and it's called breakfast. That's a pretty popular dessert we have here.
And all this just comes from your head?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. No, it's really amazing. So aside from being considered a chef that's a babe.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This morning's news.
How do you feel about that?
That's pretty good. I mean, it's nice. It brings people in the door.
So humble, so humble.
It gets people to eat. If it gets people in here to eat, and you know, if they come in for one reason like that, or for Chopped, and they walk out, you know, a fan of the food, that's what matters at the end.
What's next for you?
We're here for a couple more months. Hopefully we can find, you know, a restaurant that we can be set in stone, because, you know, at the end of the way we see it is, if we have 2 hours to do what we do, imagine what we could do with an entire day. We could really be open up for lunch and, you know, be a full-fledged restaurant, which we really feel that Eating House has the potential to be, and we feel that people want it to be a full-fledged restaurant, so that's the plan. Throughout October, November, we're going to Europe with my boys and the business partner, and we're just going to go and have a, you know, research and development trip, as we call it. You know,
I know about those. Yeah. I research while I
eat. Basically, that's the whole plan. And we're going to go to Terra Madre. It's a convention for slow food, which they have every 2 years. And this year we got invited to go. I got invited, I guess, to be like a distinguished chef to represent Florida in the United States. So that should be pretty rad.
How distinguished.
I know. I get to cook with some fancy chefs and, you know,
and show them your craziness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How about some Captain Crunch up in here?
That's what I'm saying. You know, I got to take Captain Crunch to Europe and show them what it's all about.
Awesome. Well, cheers.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely.